relate to me so much better. But when you publish, it's very interesting because all the parts of my family want to have a piece of me. And that's how I have gotten this total, complete name of my mother's maiden name, my maiden name, and my married name. I explained a great deal about how I evolved before starting the official lecture. But what I'm going to share with you is that body system, that sense, for whatever the reason, has been ignored, not paid attention to, delayed, and is so important because you must realize we all have a spatial sense. And this spatial sense is our dermatones. And if you look, every one of you have two maps. One map of the face and the arm of the dermatome system, and the other map of the torso of the body and going into the legs. Now, the facial map is the fifth cranial nerve, divided into three parts. The part, it's like it splits at the upper of the eyes and the lower of the eyes, and this is where so much of the problem takes place, especially on the lid of the eyes, which is so important. You must remember that the lid of the eyes is always interacting with your REM sleep. Your lid of your eyes controls the light that goes into your eyes for viewing, and it works very similar to a camera. And the lid of your eyes is controlled by the vestibular system off the orbital nerve, which controls all the positioning of the eye. And it's how you look and how you focus and the interaction of your eye and your head, which the vestibular system controls. Now, now I must tell you, it's the fifth somatic that becomes the interneural pathway of the spinal cord. It's the gain control for your feed forward of movement and your feed back of movement. And you must remember that your fifth somatic is also what is so interacted with your feelings and your sensation of pain. As you go down from the cranial nerves, and there are 12 cranial nerves, another one that I want to bring your close attention to is the nerve controlling your tongue. Now, I want to give you a short exercise. See how far out you can stick your tongue. Stick it out far, 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 far. Good, good. Now, all of you who are sticking your tongue out, this is a very healthy thing. But an autistic child and many people who have developmental disorders do not have the ability or the control to stick their tongue out. It's the center of your balance. And along with the center of your balance, it's the reflex system for sucking the milk of your mother or the milk from the bottle. And also, the tongue is most important in investigating and discovering the spatial perception awareness, because as you're going to see, a normal baby puts everything in their mouth. And if you remember your babies, they put everything in their mouths. And the mouth, the tongue, is really the head honcho of balance of the whole spinal cord system. Now, we have the three on the face, and we have the vestibular system controlling the eyes. Now, you'll notice that the arms come out of the neck. And you'll notice how it's the dermatones of the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, and the T1 that control the figures of the hand. This is your spatial system. And when a spinal cord person has an injury, the loss of the use of the arms and hands, depending at which level, are the most devastating. Now, turn your page over, and you'll see the torso. Now, you'll see the muscles of the rib cage. Every nerve coming out of your spinal cord goes and becomes a dermatome. Now, the interesting thing about the muscles of the rib cage, they don't have any Golgi tendon organs. They're very emotional. They run on the neurotransmitters of what is known as the muscle spindles, the emotional neurotransmitters. And that's why this whole rib cage is so emotional. And this emotional system, interestingly, is the paradox of the vestibular system, which is your system of spatial awareness and is also your emotional system. But look, you have the torso going in circles around your body. And then from the back, you have your right here. Anybody with a sciatica pain coming from L4? Well, L4 is right from here. And then you can see how it goes down right down the leg. And you can see how the dermatomes from the back rotate around on the leg. And it's how you are able to use your leg and how a dancer and a basketball player uses their leg in movement. Because the sensory feedback comes off the dermatomes. And the next picture that we're going to have is the one of okay. Oh, this is upside down. Your skin, did I get it? Okay. Your skin is loaded with receptors. They're called Flexor Reflex afferents. Every time you move, and as a baby moves with their reflexes, you know, they're kicking with their reflexes. These reflexes don't have any cortical control. But it's these reflexes that are developing the brain and the higher centers of the brain. And the most interesting thing about these reflexes is that these reflexes go into the interneural pathways of the spinal cord, and it's a gain control. And this gain control is emotional. You have to think of the background aspect, balance of your body as emotional. It's the emotional system that you grow up with. Now, we take these reflex afferents and you'll notice how these reflex afferents go into the spinal cord. And each one of the spatial dermatomes go into its own place in your spinal spatial cord. You can just see it, where it goes, where you start, where you have your cervical, you have your thoracic, you have your lumbar, and then you have your sacral. And you have dermatomes from the body that go into each of these aspects. But in the most interesting thing, This system is controlled by your vestibular mechanism. And how it works on the stretch reflex or the neurotransmitters, which we experience as our feelings. We move according to how we feel, our intuition, our kinesthetic sense. And I will share with you, these neurotransmitters can travel right through our bodies. I didn't see that in the back. Can travel right through our bodies, slice right through the somatic tissue, and doesn't have to follow the pathway of a nerve. And that's why and how I can change the muscle tone, and how the muscle tone on a normal infant will develop so beautifully. I thought I had an assistant turning the pages for me, but the next one you're going to see is a picture of the rib cage. This is the rib cage. These are the flexor reflex afferents. This is the muscle spindle. This is the vestibular mechanism. And all these systems, you see this part right here in the center? That's the interneural pathways of your spinal cord. It's your gain control system. It's the quality control of your final movement, and it's the quality control of your sense awareness of yourself. Now, as the reflexes develop, these reflexes create your sense of self in the reticular formation. And it also goes to the cerebellum. And the cerebellum organizes the tone of the body. Now, it's been a fascinating year for me. I've had a 2-year-old who was born with hypotonia. She had no tone in the muscles of her body. If you don't have any tone in the muscles of your body, you cannot organize, you can't stand, you can't balance, you can't move. We totally changed the tone of her body. Later on, you're going to see the pictures of the autistic child. The autistic child also does not have the appropriate tone of their body, because there's a reciprocal interaction between what takes place in the gain control of the spinal cord and the cerebellum. It's reciprocal. One goes from the spinal cord to the cerebellum, back to the spinal cord, and makes the changes in the body. At the same time, this total system of flexor reflex afferents goes to what we call the reticular formation, and it's the beginning of the awareness of the body sense, which is updated in the thalamus, and then goes into your sensory motor cortex, your sensory somatic cortex, where it becomes your body image. And this body image takes over feedback control of your body as you grow up, and feed forward control of your movement. But a child, the first year when they're finding their balance, works out of balance and does not do the initiating of the cortical movement. But when they get older, they move into the cortical initiation of movement of the alpha motor neuron. And what our research has done, they have put such emphasis on this alpha motor neuron that they haven't investigated the background of the gamma system, which causes all the problems. And these problems develop when a child is in their first years. Now, this vestibular system is in all vertebrates. From the fish, they have the vestibular system, control of the eyes, the birds, all of the mammals. And what I want to show you next is a picture of two cats. Look how alert those pictures of those two cats are. Their ears are pointed in attention. Their eyes are focused on information. They're bright. They have know-how, but they don't have the language that we as humans have developed. Now, the next I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you pictures of a 10-month-old boy. And what I will be over there, and I'm going to be showing you very quickly them. Notice his coordination, his awareness, his upright sitting position, his ability to climb to a standing position. And at the end of these pictures that I got, and I felt so lucky that day, he is taking his first steps. At 10 months old, he's ahead of his schedule. And that's because his parenting, his diet, his health, his environment has been so healthy. He's developed beautifully. And there was nothing wrong, because when I show you David, David had the same kind of parents and diet, but why he was autistic, nobody knows. But I'm going to show you, and this system that Jeremy, notice the awareness that he has of his body, the coordination, the exploration of movement, and his self-satisfaction. Also notice his eye-hand coordination, and that everything goes into his mouth. Typical child. So I'm going to move through these pictures very quickly. Sitting, crawling, crawling. This picture I love because you can really see the eyes going back to the vestibular system. Sitting, toys in both hands, perfectly balanced. Here you see him going up on his knees. Here you see him back to sitting and going into a standing position, balanced. Here you see him again. He goes up and he comes down. Now, what's so brilliant about these children is they relax and go with gravity when they come down. Our problem when we start to fall is we fight going with gravity, but an infant knows to do it. Again, his sitting position, his standing awareness, his crawling, his moving up again. He's going into, you see him going up and down and up and down. His climbing, getting into position. And here you see him take one of his first steps. I felt so lucky that I was able to catch with my camera at 10 months a child taking his first steps. Now, what I'm going to show you next, the difference between Jeremy at 10 months and my grandson Siri at his birthday of 2 years. You see a difference in their developmental awareness, their eye-hand focusing, and 2 years old, you really see the development of the child. They become impossible. It's the time they are saying no. They have the identity of who they are. They want to test out every situation they can with their parents, which is so important for them to do, because this is who they will become and evolve as an adult. You have to define yourself by saying no. But well, look at his focus, opening of the gifts. Now, this next picture is that of an autistic child. Notice the floppiness, the disorganization of his body posture, his structure. A pediatrician looking at these pictures will automatically say that is an autistic child. There's no doubt about it. You see the organization of the limbs. Look at the eyes. They look puffy. There's no control of the muscles surrounding the eyes. David, when I started working with him, was a year ago approximately, last March, and then over Labor Day. Now, what you're going to see in that picture, what he has in his mouth is a Liss electrical stimulator. His speech was horrible because not that he couldn't intellectually comprehend speech, but his tongue wouldn't respond to the instructions from his mind. And by putting this in his mouth wet and turning this on at a very low frequency, we relax the muscles of the tongue, and his speech immediately improved. Now, when we started, David was in kindergarten, and his behavior and his attention span was so minimal that they were going to keep him out of the first grade because they felt he wasn't ready. But after that first session, he had improved so much that they decided to allow him to enter first grade. Now, before he started first grade, I worked with him. This is the session I worked with him before he went into first grade. Now, look at this picture of this boy of 6. Here's another picture of him taken at the same time. Look at this picture. He's not comfortable interacting with his brother and his mother. He's only partially on his way. Hold that picture in your mind, because, oh gosh. I got a whole group of them. This is David at his grandfather's funeral last Tuesday. Oh, notice his interaction with the family. Notice the look that he has. One of the things I must tell you, he's still sucking his thumb. And one of the things we were working with him is to get his tongue stretched out more. And you can see in the top picture here that he's able to push his tongue out. And the pediatrician who I was with Wednesday night of this week said, I'm going to have to start paying attention to all my patients' tongues, because that flexibility of the tongue tells so much. Now, what you're going to start seeing next is the neurokinesthetic dermatome patches that were placed on David. The back of the neck, the rib cage, the hands. Right there is the hands. This patch system is the same patch system that will be available to you this evening. And you're going to see the same patch system on 3 different patient clients that I've been working with. But not only does it work for those who have neuromuscular problems, a stroke, loss of control of the eye muscle, autism, but they enhance your awareness and behavior, even though you're functioning in a normal way, or you think you're functioning in a normal way, and you don't think of the possibility that you could function much better. Now, these are, okay, here we go. These are the pictures of David drawing. Oh, God, have I missed you? Okay, this is a picture. Look at how he has used the whole space. And this is the interesting one. He's only going into 2nd grade. And look how well he's able to spell. What he was drawing was the room where we're at, the way we had to go. But look at, he says, the hot tub and the pool. Now, those are not usual spelling words for a child of 6 going on 7. Go to the next. Okay, go to the next. Keep going to the next. Okay, wait a minute. Here you notice, do this picture and then that picture. Here you notice David is swimming. Look at his cross coordination. Look at the control of his body. He doesn't have the floppiness that he had before. He has the coordination and the awareness of where he's at in space. Okay, next picture. Okay, here you see him standing in a look. Now, you can see the medical doctor, the pediatrician who I was with Wednesday night, said, what I have achieved is so outstanding. It's pragmatic, it's experiential. He says, I don't care what your theory is, but I use my theory to develop my methodology of how I work. It works for me. But what people are interested in now, my God, how do you achieve your results? And I'm achieving my results because I feel I've developed a theory that works, and I will share it. But most important of all, I will share the ways I will work, and I'll try to keep it simple so that you can come to my workshop and you can learn how to do it for yourself. Okay, next one. Okay, move David out. Now this woman, if you'll notice, this is the normal eye. This is a glass eye, and she had no control of the muscles of that eye. Next. This is the Silverlon patch that we put over the tissue. And this is the control not only of the cheek, but look at how evenly balanced her eyelids are of both eyes. It seems as if, it looks as if she has vision of both eyes. Okay, next. Here you see the freedom. If I'm working in the face, you also have to have the freedom of the body, because the face reflects the body and the body reflects the face. One's a cranial system and one's a spinal system. Next. Here we're working in greater depth. She's using what I call an electromyopulse. I use the electromyopulse in more severe disorders such as contractures. Next. You see her at the very end. She doesn't look like she has a glass eye, and she looks happy. Next. Okay, this is the stroke victim. Things are a little bit out of order, but we'll go with it. This is a stroke victim, 7 years, flat on his back. And as you can see, he's lost the control, the balance, and the coordination of his body. He's had a total of 9 3-hour sessions. The cost of the total sessions has been $2,700, which is cheap for getting your life back. Okay, move through fast. Move the pictures through fast. Okay, here we're taking them through. What I'm doing in the first session, I'm setting up the Silverlawn. Move the pictures fast. The Silverlawn thing. You're going to see the contraction of the toes. Keep moving. Again, the system over the forehead and the upper part of the eyes. And on the neck. Keep moving. Now, this is as far as he can move the arm. Look at, we placed the Silverlawn on. And we started to release the arm. Keep moving. Now, I work with body image drawings. Every session, except for the 8th session, you can see the development of his sense of self. It's amazing what a person will project into their pictures. Keep moving. Here you see his sitting balance. Keep moving. Now, look at the range of that left arm. Look at his standing position. Keep moving. Look at the position of his arm. Look at what he can do. I'll just go this and you move, okay? Now, this is the small body images of his first session. This is the second session. I'm teaching him how to do his home program, which is the same kind of workshop I'm going to do with you this evening. He's using a scissor. He's learning how to place them on his hand. He's learning how to place them on his torso, on his head. He's learning how to cut, put them on, and take them off. And then what's so important is you use paper tape and how to take the paper tape off. Now, I've developed a better way of putting the backing on the neurokinesthetic dermatome patches. I'm now using a cloth tape. At that time, I was using a paper tape, and I was building up the back. Okay, keep going. Notice where the toes are. This is the third session. Move through. Go. We're sitting on the bed, sitting on the side of the bed. I keep pushing. You've got to push these guys. There's a sitting up. Look at how the left shoulder is so much lower than the right. Look at how his body images are improving. We're working on the shoulders. They're getting bigger. This is the fourth session. Now, in the fourth session, I used the list because he had contractures of the groin. I needed a stronger stimulation. And then I brought the Neural K patches all the way down the left leg because what I had to do is increase the blood flow, increase the flexibility. There you notice the leg. There you notice the standing. You notice the positioning of the left leg. Now look at how the body images are growing in size. And he says he feels solid but electrical. Okay. Now, this is the fifth session. Notice the range of movement of the foot and the arm. He's getting faster and faster and lifting the arm and the foot. Okay, there's greater range of movement. Here he has a complete neurokinesthetic patch, not only on the underarm, but on the deltoids of that left arm. Okay, keep moving. Now, we put him in a walker. You can look at the step of that left foot. Look at his body images. They're keeping growing. He's getting a better awareness of his body. Okay, now we're into the, what is this, the sixth session, I believe. Notice we keep increasing his range of movement. Keep going. Now, on this session was very different. It was really quite an interesting session. You always have to listen to the complaints of your patient. He's a complainer. And what I had to do was increases awareness, increases in control. And what I used mainly on this session was this vibrator. Now the vibrator sends your flexor reflex afferents and your muscle spindle system to the higher centers to be integrated. Vibration is part of your vestibular system. And I use this along with my hands, my realignment, and his focusing to make him attend, and I guess I'm putting some of you to sleep. Okay, next. I also used weights, and I also used the skateboard, and you can see the range of motion that he was able to develop. Not only in the foot, but the arm, okay? And look at his body images. Move it, move it. Okay, look at how big they're getting. Really big. Okay, keep moving. Notice how he's walking and stepping and picking up his leg. Keep moving. Okay, he's starting to make comments. Now he's starting to get worried. My God, if he gets well, he's not going to be the dependent person. He's not going to be waited on totally. He's not going to have his food made for him. He won't be taken care of. Now, this is a real problem in rehabilitation. You can start to heal the body, and you have to heal the attitude, not the mind. The mind is okay, but it's the emotional attitude of wanting to get well. Okay, keep going. Okay, this is when we use the list on the back of the head. Keep going. Okay, now this is where I use the myopulse because I wanted to make that face as alive as possible. I used the myopulse on the body. I used a stronger stimulation. I had to wake him up even more. Keep going. Keep going. Look at how he's able to raise his legs. Keep moving. We put him on the exercise bike. Look at it, his total posture. I keep moving and pushing. Because if you don't push, you don't achieve. Okay, keep moving. Now he's drawing body images here. Now look at, keep moving. Look at the size of these body images. Keep moving. They are bigger than they've ever been. Now, the next session, I started to teach him an exercise program. If we have time tonight, it's a simple exercise program. As you bring the stimulation into your body, you have to integrate it with movement. Movement is your integrator of your sensory system, but you have to set up your sensory system first. Look at what he's able to do, pulling up his right leg, then his left leg. Okay, keep moving. Keep moving. He's pulling up both legs. Okay, now he's starting to move his arms around. Watch at the freedom. Keep moving. Keep moving. The freedom of his arms that you're going to see. You're going to see a symmetry of his arms. It won't look like he's got one arm working for him and one arm not looking for him. Okay, now what we're doing is we're integrating the silver lawn with the movement. Keep moving. Keep moving. Place on the back, the knees, the foot. Keep moving. Keep moving. The body image. Now on the 8th session, he refused to do the body images because this was his real time of confrontation. Keep moving. Keep moving. This is at the end. Somehow we're missing. Oh, I know why we're missing some because they're on the back side. But he was moving his arms in full symmetry, and we had him working with us because what we were doing, we were putting the backing on the silver lawn to make the neurokinesthetic patches. And I left him. He has a choice to make, and it's only a choice in attitude. I've given him his body back. I've given him the awareness of his mind, of his body, but he has to change his attitude. I don't care whether he wants to move around in his wheelchair, but he has to get up and get around and be as independent as possible. He has to change his personality. And this, one of the interesting things with children, the children love it when they're given the freedom to grow and develop. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Move on. Okay. We have missed the whole group of pictures. No. Oh, no. Don't worry about it. I just wanted to tell you that cerebral palsy, the intelligent cerebral palsies have the muscles of this size, right in through here. But they don't have the control of any other part of the body. I was talking to a doctor because I cannot do this alone. I would like to connect up with a doctor, psychiatrist, a pediatrician, because the ones with cerebral palsy, they have two of their systems that are malfunctioning. You have the brain waves going much too fast, and they have new medication that can slow down the brain waves. And I can come in from the body, and I can teach the person how to control the body and change the tone. If the brain is slowed down to receive the information we're coming in with from the body. And this is a challenge I have put for myself. I've already been able to get autism. I've been able to develop and work with many other disorders. Attention deficit disorders is just non-appropriate functioning of this muscle and the muscles of the body and the balance. They either are out of sync. You've got to synchronize your body systems with your brain and with your cortical systems. It's a wonderful world that I'm working in, and I'm giving myself the next 30 years to meet this challenge. I can do it, but you know who I have the real problems with? The medical profession. Yeah. They're scared of me because I have done my homework, my research, I'm demonstrating I have the results. And I have to find the doctors that are willing to go with me, to work with me, because I cannot do it alone. I have to teach, and I have to train, and I have to have people with an attitude to say, if this child, for whatever reason, did not have the opportunity of being born normal, let's give this child a chance to really achieve the functioning. You saw David. Now, David was very easy. He was a total autistic child that didn't have a chance until I intervened. And the amount of time that I put into him, maybe 4 times 12 hours the most. That's fast. Even at $100 an hour, that's cheap. Because if you don't do the therapy when they're young, oh boy, are you going to have problems when they get older and later on. So what I'm doing and what I'm spreading the word about, there's a possibility to do so much more than what we are doing. I know what I have to do. I have to set up my website. I have to build a group of people to work and support me. I have to write my book. I have to teach and train. It's a 30-year challenge that I have set up for myself, but I know I can do it. And the reason I know I can do it is I use this neurokinesthetic dermatome program on myself practically every day. I feel more balanced and more functional with greater energy. I start my day at 6 o'clock, and I may end it up at 11 and 12 o'clock at night. I sleep so soundly. I've lost a few pounds. I eat a healthy diet. I've given up all kinds of crazy cravings. And I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. And I've enjoyed sharing with you the opportunity of some of the stories before I made my formal presentation. Are there any questions? Yes. No drugs.
The lady spoke earlier, Miss Gordon, said that the Scottsdale school system had 72 drugs available for children who had
Aye, and it takes its toll later on. Oh, one of the things I want to share with you is I'm going to be running a dermatome neurokinesthetic program. I can take the most 20 tonight. If I have 10, I'll be happy, or 10 to 20 tomorrow night. I have all the materials here, from the scissors to the paper to the pens to the patches to the tape, for you to participate. Now, what you have to do is you have to sign up with me, either write a check to my clinic for neuromuscular disorders or give me cash of $40. It's cost me much more than that to bring the program to you. But I don't know which room where we're going to be meeting at. Steve has told me. We've discussed this, we've set this up, but the room, like the time of my presentation, like a lot of decisions, has not necessarily been made. But I'm doing it, and I'll let you know, and you can sign up with me later. Are there any questions? Yes. What? Okay, what the patches do, you know, silver. First, before I got into this system, I was using silver coins. And I discovered with silver coins, I did this in a workshop that I did in Indianapolis when I located this silver lawn. Silver is a natural, normal neurological conductor. Now, the silver is impregnated in the gauze, which you tape it onto. And I have specific placements, which are like the vestibular placements, or the placements where the vestibular system plays a crucial role. And there is an interaction between the placements and blood pressure. Now, one thing you have to realize is that the neurotransmitters for blood pressure are the same as the neurotransmitters for the gamma muscle spindle system. So that when you work one system, you're working the other system. And really what you're doing is you're relaxing the tissue and you're bringing the blood flow into the tissue. When you relax the tissue and run the blood flow into the tissue, you completely relax. And then at the same time, as you do your exercises, you're putting your body into a more proper alignment. Yes. No, it's, I get it from Dr. Flick. Now, another thing that I use or work with, gotta find it, is the vibrator. Where did I put my vibrator down? Okay. This is a wonderful accessory. This is my personal one. I always have people buying them from me, so I brought two with me, which I will sell. Now, what happens is you put these dermatome patches on, you turn the vibrator on, and really what it does, the vibrator enhances the total feeling and the working results from the patches. Plus, the vibrator makes you even feel greater and even better. And then you do an exercise program. And another thing that happens, it's much easier to go on a diet to cut off the extremes of salt and the fats and the sugars, or if you need to cut out the potassium. for whatever the reason, you can cut out all of these things that are getting in the way of your behavior, because the serotonin makes you feel so much better. You don't need extra food, or you don't need cigarettes, or you don't need alcohol, or you don't need pot. You feel just good about being yourself. What you're doing is you're activating your own good feeling system. Any other questions? Yes.
What is the difference between the dynamic and the static muscle system, and why do arms lock?
Okay. Your dynamic is the rate of change. The dynamic comes off the cortical and the basal ganglia. It's a catecholamiне system.
That's this motion here, dynamic?
That is, it goes with the flexors. Your static goes with the extensors, the lengthening of the muscle, the bringing of the blood into the muscle, the relaxation of the muscle. Your dynamic is the contraction of the muscle, and your static is the relaxation, lengthening of the muscle. You have to have a balance between the two. Now, if you keep contracting and contracting, like that stroke victim was, you end up with a contracture. And it's the contracture that you have to relax to allow the full range of movement.
So it's not the static that's overcoming the dynamic, that's stopping the range?
Yeah, what happens is it's only the static system. The Golgi tendon organs are like the brakes. And you have a range of movement, but you have your range of movement limited, and they're limited by the Golgi tendon organ. You have to activate the static to inhibit the Golgi tendon organ, which then allows you to increase the range of movement. Do I make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I was just curious because
this is the system, is the background system, the balance system for the initiation of movement, the alpha motor movement from the cortex, which comes down to the spinal cord, and it's how well this spatial system is organized, which then responds to what you initiate.
I thought the static was overcoming the dynamic from what I've read.
They work hand in hand. But what you want to have is a balance, and you really want to have, for a better balance, an emphasis on the static to have a greater control over the dynamic, because the dynamic can start to race you. Okay, any other questions? What? I didn't hear you. Okay, there's a couple problems with multiple sclerosis. There's an attitude problem, and I can take and get an MS person so far. And some of them I can take all the way. Now, they have lesions of the brain and the body, and these lesions get in the way. But it's the most interesting thing. If a person really wants to get well, they can get well. I've seen it. But if a person has an attitude, for whatever the reason, they make the decision. I can help them if they really want to be helped. Okay, any other questions?
You said you worked off a theory. Can you explain what your original theory is?
On what?
You said you had an original theory that you worked off to develop your method. I was wondering if you can explain your original theory.
Okay, my original theory, when I first started out, which is another story I didn't tell you, I did the analysis of Rolfing. Have you heard of Rolfing? What is so interesting about the greatest learning experience I've had in my life, it was my master's thesis. And what I discovered with the statistical analysis was it's the movement balance which has the sensory feedback to the higher centers. So really what you're working for is to get the relaxed movement balance, the sensory backward system that is the organizational process for setting up your self-awareness, your body image, your background for initiating a movement. Now, when I share what I'm doing, many people say, my God, you're going backwards. Sure, I'm going backwards, but that's the way we've evolved. You have to work up from the spinal back to your higher centers, your sensory system, and then be free to move. Did that answer your question? Any other question? Yes.
I would like to know what's in the patches. When you get the silver, what kind of silver is it? Is it liquid, metal?
No, it's, I didn't bring any with me, but it's impregnated right into the cloth. And what I've done is I've cut them in patches that fit in certain places that I find to be very crucial. It's really your vestibular system that I'm activating, the control for the eyes, the control of the neck, the control of the rib cage, the control of the back, the control of the hips. And if you have any problems, such as with your feet or your ankle, you can place them there. You analyze the body and then you place. You see where a person needs them. I always analyze the body, and then we decide the appropriate place for that individual to have them, and then we set up their home program and you can follow through. And I give you the understanding that you can be creative in what you're doing. Yes?
Would you care to comment on a child who has been told, or the parents have been told she has attention deficit disorder, and doesn't have access to your clinic? Is there anything that you can say about what to do?
Well, where does she live? It would be cheaper for them to come to me than for me to go to them. Now, what is so interesting is the kind of results we can get so quickly by setting up a home program just with these dermatome patches. And I can teach and train the parents to do the home program. Now, some of the times the parents are fantastic, and sometimes I'd really like to spank the mothers. Oh, because the mothers don't follow through, or the fathers are not there. They have to take the responsibility for the child. I can't. But I'll teach them. Any other questions? Now, how many people are interested in attending my workshop tonight? 1. I got 2. Anybody else? Okay, 3. Anybody else? 4. Okay, come see me. I'll give you your enrollment form.